Welcome to Quest for Passive Income Podcast, brought to you by ChasingYourFreedom.com. If you're ready to get your side hustle on, you're in the right place. Our goal is to provide you with the passive income strategies you can use so that you can make your job an option rather than a necessity, despite the economy. No fluff around here, folks. Just pure content from everyday people who have mastered their hustle. And now, please welcome your host, the founder of ChasingYourFreedom.com, the creator of Financial Freedom GPS, and the chief advocate for freedom chasers. It's Shay Bynes.
Hey everyone, this is Shay Bynes, and welcome to episode 9 of the Quest for Passive Income podcast. Today I'm talking to Rachel Hernandez, aka Mobile Home Girl, and we're going to talk about how you can build a solid monthly cash flow without any landlord responsibilities by investing in mobile homes. Quite honestly, even if you're not keen on mobile homes, I urge you to listen to this entire interview because Rachel shares some very important advice for any entrepreneur, and it's advice that you, quite frankly, have never heard on this podcast before. So with that, let's get started.
Hey everyone, this is Shay Bynes with ChasingYourFreedom.com and the Quest for Passive Income podcast. Today's episode is on a business that you really don't hear much about unless you're already pretty active in the real estate investing game. So we're going to talk about how to generate a monthly cash flow with mobile homes. And who better to interview on this topic than the mobile home girl herself, Rachel Hernandez. Rachel and I, we've known each other for probably about 4 years now, I think. We met as bloggers, both doing blogging in the real estate investing niche, and it's been a real treat to get to know her over the past few years. Rachel actually spent several years as a landlord before taking the leap to specialize in mobile home investing. And she's built a very solid business and a great monthly income stream in the process. Rachel has one key investing strategy and one only, and it's keep it simple. So I know that you'll enjoy learning from her. So Rachel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Shay. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Awesome. Well, Rachel, let's just get started by, if you can just share a little bit about your real estate investing story and how you ended up with mobile homes as a focus.
That's a good question, Shay. Honestly, I never thought, well, first of all, I honestly never thought I'd get into real estate investing at all. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, but I've never thought real estate. I've never liked, going to open houses and showing homes to people. That just wasn't in my head when I wanted to become an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. But as far as real estate goes, I was inspired by the book, like a lot of people, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, where I learned about, the concept of passive income and financial freedom. I've always had entrepreneurial ventures, but I never really had the support. I was raised by a family of professionals, and the expectation was for me to go to school, get a job, make a lot of money, go to school again, and make more money. And that was it.
Yep.
So there was really no talk about entrepreneurship. And what I learned was in order to make money, I physically had to work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So learning about the concept of passive income was a very new and interesting concept for me. So after learning about that and reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I made a plan. So for me, I started out as a bird dog and then wholesaler looking for deals for other investors. Mm-hmm. And so my plan was to build up enough cash to start buying and holding properties for cash flow. Once I did that, I started acquiring properties and I became a landlord.
Okay.
But I became a burnt out landlord. Yeah, I didn't have time to do anything because I found myself always working. At one point, I even hired property managers, but even then, I still had to manage the managers.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
So, I received the stream of income from the rent payments, but what I lacked was time. And so then I understood the concept of financial freedom through that experience.
Right.
So after that, I eventually stumbled upon the little world of mobile home investing. a second time around. I actually had a chance to pursue it years before I was a landlord, but I chose not to due to one bad experience, but I was definitely wrong about that.
That happens.
Yeah, so basically through my experience, I've learned a lot about money and finance, and I've learned the game of who owes who. And that's really what the game is. You know, which side of the fence do you want to be on? Do you
Right.
want someone to owe you money, or do you want to owe money to someone else?
That's good.
So we're all on either side. We just need to pick which one we want to be on.
That's it.
But even more so with mobile home investing, I've really learned with experience to value time. It's so much important to me nowadays, more than money, because it allows me to do things I want to do, and
Yes.
that's priceless.
Absolutely.
So with mobile home investing, people owe me money, not the other way around. And what I'm doing is I'm dealing with folks with a homeowner type mentality as opposed to renter mentality.
Okay.
And it's really allowed me to buy time. That's basically what I'm doing with mobile home investing. I'm buying time.
That makes a lot of sense, and we should definitely explore that more. So let's talk about, in what ways mobile home investing differs from buying and holding single family houses. You talked a little bit about, having a property manager as a landlord and then having to manage that property manager, and that you kind of got burnt out on that. But what are some of the key differences investing on the mobile home side rather than, single family houses?
Right. I mean, the concept can be applied to anything, who owes me money and whatnot, and dealing with people with more of a owner mentality than a renter mentality. You can do that with single family homes. You can do that with condos. You can do that with a refrigerator,
Yes, that's
You know,
right.
but the main difference, why I like mobile home investing, it's a very specialized niche, and it's a really small slice of real estate investing, and it involves a lot more research and knowledge than your average, single family home deal. And it's not as easily accessible to the general public. So it's like you're in a whole different world away from that,
Right.
and I kind of like that. But as far as differences go, in general, it's a way for someone to get involved in investing on a smaller scale.
Hmm.
So what it does, it allows a smaller investment of money than your average single family deal for buy and hold purposes, in general.
Right.
Um, it's smaller in the sense that you can actually buy a mobile home, a nice mobile home, free and clear, as opposed to your average single family home deal. And that is extremely important to me because I really don't want to owe anyone money. I've been
Right.
done that.
Right. Right.
So that's basically one of the things. The other thing is that, if someone's looking to buy an existing mobile home parks, the inventory is not accessible to everyone. Not anyone can buy a home in an existing mobile home park and leave it there.
Right.
It's actually the park who will decide who they'll allow to do business in their parks. And so, in a sense, it's a relationship type business.
So that makes a lot of sense. And now going back to this thought about, what side of the table are you on? Do you owe somebody or does somebody owe you? Can you take us through that scenario? I know exactly what you're talking about from like an owner financing standpoint. For the benefit for the people who are listening who are unfamiliar with maybe even how this works on the real estate investing side in general with single houses, condos or what have you, break that down for us. Your standard model when you're investing is, if you're a landlord, is that, you might have a mortgage on the property, you may not, right? But then tenants are
Right.
going to pay you rent every month. What is the difference between that and what you're doing with your mobile homes?
Well, basically, what I'm doing with the mobile homes is that I'm allowing a person to actually have to be purchasing the home. So they're actually, it's like you going and buy a home,
Yes.
right? A single family home. But with the mobile homes, it's really hard for someone to go out and get financing. And for a used mobile home, the opportunities are just not there. So basically, most of the people I work with, they're coming from, I've been renting for, at least 3 years, never late, whatnot.
Right.
I'm ready to own a home, but I really can't own a single family home because let's face it, the American dream is to own that that home, it's usually a single family home with the picket fence, in the subdivision. That's the American dream,
Three bedrooms, two baths, and have 2.5 kids, right?
Exactly. That's the American dream. But these people realize I can't, I'm not there right now, So, they realize, well, the other option, I can own a home. It's a manufactured home, mobile home. And have that dream, or I can stay in the apartment and just keep on renting.
Right.
So basically, I'll walk you through a typical deal. So basically, say I buy a used mobile home in a park. Let's make it simple, I don't want to confuse anyone.
Sure.
But say I buy it for $5,000. Okay, and what I usually do is I try to sell it for double that, so 10,000.
Okay.
And so I put on the market for 10,000, and someone can come in and say, look, I want to buy the home. Now they can pay me $10,000 in cash, and buy the home. Or another, I'm sure a lot of the subscribers here are familiar with payment plans.
Yes.
We'll put you on a payment plan. So say they give me $1,000 down. Okay. And so they owe $9,000.
Right.
And then their payments, we structure it to work with what they can pay, and what is the the going market rate. They pay me $200 a month.
Right.
For like 3 or 4 years. And that's it. That's basically what it is. And this is their home. They can do whatever they want to the home, as long as I always have to say, as long as it's cool with the park.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so basically you've got the cash flow for however many number of years you've set up the payment plans for. And as long as you're continuing to, I assume that all of your periods of time are relatively short because of the low prices of the mobile homes.
It depends. That's actually on the low end. Now I'm on the higher end of the scale. So basically, instead of that's basically the typical starter deal, I can say, for your average investor is like, you know what, I want to try this out and see what happens.
Right.
That's what I always tell people. Try it out. Get a feel for it. And I started my first deal. It was on the lower end of the scale. I bought it for $3,600. It was actually a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and I found someone. It went for 10,000. I got 1,000 down and $250 a month for 4.5 years.
Okay.
So those are at the lower end of the scale. But now I really mainly focus on the higher end of the scale.
Yes.
For me personally, I get better clientele that way that work with my personality.
Right.
That's the thing. So I actually. My cash flow per month is actually $500 per month minimum, and they're usually for 10 years.
I love that. And that's what I was hoping we'd get to, because I know a lot of people would say, okay, well, there's the place where you start, but if someone wants that cash flow for a longer period of time, now you're able to kind of stretch that out. Now you've got 10 years of cash flow, right? And a strong cash flow at that, right? For
exactly.
a longer period of time. And then the person doesn't have to go and acquire as many as frequently because they have a cash flow that's lasting for a longer period of time. So that's awesome. That's great. So do you think, is this kind of a strategy, Rachel, that, let's say someone's brand new to investing, they haven't, they probably, how everyone researches for 3 years before they do anything.
Oh,
we've all done that, right? So, they've been kind of researching, they kind of understand conceptually some, aspects of real estate investing, wholesaling, etc. Do you think that this is a good starter place for someone who's just starting to take action in real estate? And if the answer is no, I'm curious to know, what are the types of experiences you think they should have before, that would help them to be successful in the mobile home area?
My answer is actually opposite. It's yes, but you also have to have a plan.
Yes.
I've said this a lot of times before. If you're planning to buy and hold, no matter what you hear out there, with the what are those courses out there, no money down.
Right.
If you're planning to buy and hold seriously, you really need to have the cash reserves these things that come up.
Can I get it? I got to get an amen for that. Amen.
Amen. Yes. Because if for some reason something goes wrong, you don't get that, buyer, and then you got to pay lot rent. Then what?
Right.
To the park. So yes, it can work. You can start if you don't have any money, you can start like what I do, but specialize in mobile home investing.
Yes.
Go out and be a bird dog, be a wholesaler, and look for other deals for other investors. But you're just mobile home investing,
Right.
and that's a specialized niche.
Right.
But the important thing I want to stress is that the investment style depends on the investor. So yes, you can do this, but the investment style depends on the investor. And what I mean about that is that you really need to know yourself first.
Yes.
And build your business around you and not build yourself around your business. You really need to know your strengths and know your weaknesses, because without this, you'll fail. And what I see, Shay, time and time again, is folks chasing opportunities.
Yes.
And catering their businesses to someone else's personality and not their own. And in most cases, when they do this, they fail. My suggestion is to first know who you are and then build your business to your personality. It can be done,
Yes.
but my style and way of doing things can be different than someone else's. I know countless fellow investors who have been successful in mobile home investing,
Right.
but their styles and way of investing, seriously, they're completely different than mine.
Right.
Some of the things that they do and opportunities they pursue, I'd never do myself.
Right.
So, it really boils down to personality. And I can honestly say that that's a secret of my success. I've just catered my business to my personality, not someone else's.
Say that one more time for us, Rachel.
That's basically the secret of my success in this business. I've catered it to my personality and not someone else's.
That is such a great tip, because isn't that the reason why so many people fall on their faces, whether it's real estate investing or any other business, right? I mean, that's really key. If you're not doing that, you get burned out.
Yeah, they read about a way, for example, like finding leads or whatnot,
Sure.
And they do, and they struggle, and then it doesn't work out, and then they say real estate investing doesn't work.
Yes.
And yeah.
That's right. Okay, well, let's start talking about a little bit of some of the mechanics, because people are probably wondering, okay, well, they might live in an area where there might not be a lot of mobile homes, or they don't even have a clue whether there's mobile homes in their area. What have been some of the most effective ways that you've used to find your mobile home deals?
Well, for me, I'm a people person, and I have a background in corporate sales. So it's definitely, through my networking and relationships I've made, through my communication skills.
Right.
It does take a lot of time and can be slow, but in the end, it's worth it. I mean, I can't be everywhere.
Right.
So these people are my eyes and ears. But in terms of effective ways of finding mobile home deals, the first step is to know your market. You really need to get out there, get
Yes.
out of the office, and know where these, if you decide to buy them in parks or on land or whatnot, where are they?
Right.
Go out. When I first started out, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." I went out and saw over 200 mobile home parks.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't know whether I'm wowing more on the fact that you went and saw 200, or the fact that there were 200 for you to see in your area. I'm kind of wowing at both of those things.
Yeah, I remember driving 5 hours to go look at one.
Wow.
I mean, obviously I don't.
Right.
I now I have a 2-hour radius.
Okay.
That was in the beginning, but the
Yes.
thing is, it allows you to learn the market. So when the leads come in, you're like, oh, I remember that park.
Right.
I don't want to work there.
Right.
Or I remember that park. I do want to work there.
Yes.
The other way around.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Very good. Okay, so that's one of the things you did when you're starting out, was really kind of researching and knowing your market. You've talked about networking and relationship building as part of that. So let's delve a little deeper into that. So when you talk about building relationships with people, I mean, who were you talking to that has leads for mobile home deals? I mean, these are just any old body? This is going to real estate investing meetings. This is, what is this?
You really want to know?
I really want to know. Inquiring
Everyone.
minds want to know.
Well, in the beginning, I did not have a plan. I'm one of those, if you've read that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes.
Okay, you've got scurry and sniff.
Yes.
I'm scurry. So I go out there and just do a bunch of things, and then I find out through experience what works.
Yes. Yes.
But in the beginning, I mean, I talked to everyone. I was one of the things I did is I went on the boards and I read, and that got some advice that way.
Yes.
But being out in the field, I went to all those parks, which we've already talked about.
Right.
I went to the dealers in my area. You might remember this. I think I wrote it in my blog one time, but I actually was doing presentations at one time.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And bringing them coffee and donuts.
Yes.
Yeah. For their weekly sales meetings. So I was doing that. I was going out and, meeting with sellers. I was talking to neighbors. I was talking to contractors who worked in the business.
Right.
I mean, I was passing out flyers. I was hanging things in gas stations. I mean, I was doing all this stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And, through experience, now what's really worked, it was like, yeah, you really got to be in the area that you want to work in. Right. So marketing, what's worked for me is talking with people and networking. Now, it really depends, again, personality wise. I know people who do direct mail.
Yes.
And they've had great success with it.
Right.
But for me, I don't like being in the office, and I would probably die if I had to be in the office all day, with the direct mail campaign. I just can't do it.
Right. Right.
So that's another way that I've heard people do, and they've been successful. Another thing was Craigslist. I've heard people being successful on that.
Yes.
But again, that involves being in the office, and I don't do that. Right. So, well, I'm in the office, but 99% of the time I'm out in the field. So
this is going back to building your business around your personality type.
Yes, exactly.
That's the theme of this conversation. No, good stuff. Now, okay, so you actually, now let me ask you this: do you do the work yourself of speaking with, so when you get leads, you speak to those sellers personally? When you have buyers, you speak and screen those buyers personally? Or do you leverage some type of, just like on the single family side, people have property managers who do a bit of that, and then you manage that property manager? Are you doing this yourself, or is somebody else doing this?
No, basically, I mean, I've done on the buyer side, I've done having the answering machine and the recording and all that. And it's been a toss up. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's not. You hear about, 80-20 rule,
right,
all that. And really, who has the most interest in my business? Myself.
Right.
And for me, I'm good at talking with people, networking, and building relationships. So my job really, and to everyone listening, I do have a job,
Right.
My job is to put these deals together.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's not to not do anything.
Right. Right.
So basically my job is to go out there, make these relationships, and put these deals together. And if that involves me going and showing these homes to these people who are qualified,
right,
over the phone, then I'm going to go out and do it. Now, I've had the park managers show the homes for me when I'm not there and whatnot, but they have no interest. They don't own it,
right,
and they've got the park stuff too.
Right.
I mean, yes, they can do it, but don't get mad if, oh man, it's been 2 months and what's going
right
on. You're just sitting in your office waiting for them to call. Oh, Rachel,
right,
we found someone for you. No, it's not going to work like that.
Right. Right.
So again, the theme is catering it to your personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, for me, I answer all my calls. I go out. I'm the one in front of these sellers. I'm in the one in front of the park managers. I think maybe some people listening that's, oh my gosh, this is but I love it. That's the thing. I love being out in the field. That's my
Right.
thing.
And that's I think that's something that's really important for people to hear and understand, because a lot of times people say, okay, well, there's things that I'm good at, but this whole relationship building and being out in front and being outside and talking to everybody, that's not it. But I'm really great at marketing, and I'm really great at managing, and I'm really great at finding great people and working that angle. So if that's the case, then sure, right? You can put people in place to help you to
Hire
build,
someone
right?
who can do those
Right,
things.
absolutely.
That's the thing. Focus on your strengths. Don't focus
Yes.
on your weaknesses, because it's gonna, a lot of people, oh, I want to be a well-rounded person. Yeah, that's great, but then what you end up being is mediocre, because we all have something we're really good at doing.
Yep.
And it's better to
Absolutely.
make it better, by practicing and doing it.
Yes, absolutely. Learning by experience, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think I told you this before. I know an investor. He's been doing this for, I think, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He is investing out of state, tax lien investing.
Okay.
He hates dealing with people, but he loves research. So he's just buying these tax liens all over the country, researching the areas or whatnot. And he's got property management, but he's been doing this for 25 years.
Yes.
And he's basically happy,
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I
No,
don't
that's
have to deal with these people.
but that's right, and you can build this, and I think that's one of the things, and I think this is why it's so important to have multiple conversations with people that are in the same business, because you hear those perspectives. Because so often when you're in the space where you're trying to figure out what business you want to do, what's my side hustle going to be, you're trying to figure that out, and you're trying to model right after somebody's success, but people do the same business different ways. It can still be successful. And so that's why this theme around doing things, building based off of your strengths is really important. So this is good stuff. So Rachel, I have one last question for you. For
Okay.
someone who is interested in learning how to do the mobile home deals, I mean, what do you recommend? They get off this podcast, they're like, oh, you know what, this sounds really interesting. I like the idea of being, specialized and having a niche within a niche, right?
Right.
If that's something that they want to do, I mean, kind of, what is the first step or two that they should take when they're done listening to this podcast?
Okay. Besides, okay. Well, the first thing, I mean, there's two sides of it. There's like the how do I do this mobile home investing? And I'll get to that, right?
Yep.
What can I read, what not? But more importantly, I'd recommend learning as much as you can about money and finance. And two books I recommend besides Rich Dad Poor Dad is one, The Richest Man in Babylon.
That's a good one.
Okay. And what I like really about Richest Man in Babylon is that, it teaches you about business as
Right.
well too. Okay. And finance. The other one, and I'm sure you've heard of this, What Color is Your Parachute?
Yes.
And they've updated I think they updated it every couple of years.
Yeah.
But it focuses more on personal development and getting to know who you are.
Right.
What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And there's some tests in there or quizzes that you can take, which is great. So that's on the personal development side and the learning about finance and money side. On the mobile home investing side, definitely read Lonnie Scruggs' book, Deals on Wheels.
Okay.
Which I consider the blueprint for mobile home investing.
Okay.
I mean, everyone, people ask me, well, what can I do? Read that book and then read it again.
Yes.
The second thing they can do if they want, I did have an audiobook that I did a while back, 10 do's and don'ts to get started in mobile home investing, which I can happily provide for you, Shay, for your subscribers.
That would be great. I'd really appreciate that, and we'll link it up there on the site
okay.
for the show notes. That's fantastic. So is there any other last parting words you want to share for those who would be interested in getting started in mobile homes? Any last words?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the last words I have is really, and I think I wrote something about it. I did a write-up about this a while back. Work your plan and plan your work, and don't try to compare yourself to everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there, we were like, oh man, I'm trying. And, everyone seems to be doing good and having successes and I'm not doing, focus on you. I mean, you know me, Shay.
Yes.
I'm barely on the internet.
Right.
Most of my time is on the field, so I'm in a different world most of the time. Put yourself in the world that you want to be and do what you want, not what others want for you. That's basically, the best advice I can give. Work your plan, just work it, so.
I love it. And that's exactly what you've been doing. And I've enjoyed watching the steps along the way over the past 4 years. So everybody, be sure to connect with Rachel. She has a great blog at adventuresinmobilehomes.com. You can also find her on Facebook. And if you also want to learn, actually, you know what? I should mention, Rachel just recently, maybe in the past couple months, you released a book.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and I had the book sitting right next to me right now, Adventures in Mobile Homes, How I Got Started in Mobile Home Investing and How You Can Too. So you can get that off of Amazon.com, and order that. But definitely link up with Rachel. And Rachel, thank you so much for just sharing with us and giving us your precious time today. Really, really greatly appreciated.
That's been great. Thanks, Shay.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Quest for Passive Income podcast. If you want to connect more with Rachel, be sure to check out her blog at adventuresinmobilehomes.com. This is Shay Bynes with ChasingYourFreedom.com, and I'll see you next time.